Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for joining. I'm going to start by saying I'm a bit nervous. I think this is actually the most amount of people I've been around in about 2 years. And most of my presentations are done virtually. So actually seeing people live now, this should actually be interesting. But all that aside, we're super excited to be here for the next 30 minutes. We also have a booth over at 1630, just over here, so please stop by after if you have questions or if you want to see a deeper dive into the platform. We are certainly happy to show you. All right, so my name is Ashley Johnston. I'm the Toronto account executive for Autodesk. I've actually been with Autodesk for 5 years. I came through acquisition of PlanGrid, for those who might know PlanGrid. Autodesk acquired it about 2 years ago. The last year I spent working with some of our largest customers and recently came back to the Toronto market, so super excited to be here today. I have my colleague David Nichols here as well. David's actually going to run through a demonstration of the product and he can do his introduction when we get there. All right, so let's get started. So a little overview for today, nice light agenda. We're going to talk a little bit about an industry update. So where have we been in the last 5 years? What has Autodesk been up to? Then we're going to talk about the Autodesk Construction Cloud, and then we're going to move into the mobile demo of the product. So believe it or not, this is actually my 5th building show. I actually started the first week in my, I had to do a presentation the first week that I started. And I know we've all come off some virtual presentations and shows, but you know what, there's been a lot of changes in the world, but one thing that has not changed very much in the last 5 years is construction. When I did this presentation 5 years ago, we talked a lot about the industry, and a lot of what I said then, we are still actually facing today. The construction industry is getting better, but it's still really fragmented. And a lot of that fragmentation actually directly impacts a lot of construction outcomes. So if we look at this slide, a typical construction project is made up of multiple teams across all different projects during the design phase, the plan phase, the build, and the operate. And within that, we have owners, GCs, subcontractors, and they're still all using different platforms. In fact, 25% of construction companies are using 5 or more systems, making construction and communication so much harder. It's making more project data more siloed, and a lot of that project data that is living with all of these different phases is not being shared across the projects. We're still seeing a lot of that today. And although communication is getting a lot better, we're seeing a lot more digital adoption, we're still seeing a ton of paper. 70% of the global construction industry is still using paper process, which obviously adds a lot more complexity to the information being shared. So how many of you have a paper process potentially still in any of your workflows that you guys are using today? So I see some hands, so that's good. We're definitely getting better. Okay, so the fragmentation of this data has a huge impact, right, on the construction projects across all levels. So for teams, they're still really disconnected. They're working with a lot of outdated information due to multiple apps or even the lack of digital adoption. It's leading to loads of rework and time and security issues wasted on site. On a project level, the disconnection between the office and the field makes for a massive avoidable rework, impacting a lot of the cost on the projects, delivery time, and profitability. And then obviously on the business, there's a massive impact on the business level with unused lost project data, lost project information, reducing a ton of risk for the portfolio, and then obviously how they're going to manage that asset during the life cycle of these projects. All right, so what are we doing about it? So Autodesk is the only construction company, technology company, that connects data and workflows through the entire building life cycle of design to operations. From the headquarters to the office to the job site. Most people, and even today, David and I found this, a lot of people know Autodesk because of Revit. Navisworks, right, AutoCAD, a lot of those products. And since the introduction of our new technology modules that we're going to show to you guys today, it's the same recognizable platform, the same company, but a ton of new modules to be able to build into construction. All right, so I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into each of these modules, and then we're going to have David take it over. Okay, so we're going to start with BIM Collaborate. Autodesk BIM Collaborate enables project teams to align and execute on design intent by managing the entire design, collaboration, and coordination workflows from a single solution. This helps customers reduce rework, improve productivity, and accelerate project delivery. By having this data gathered in early part of construction, our teams are much more collaborative in those early stages, catching and resolving issues before they become headaches in the field. So it's going to do everything from automated clash detection, model coordination, design collaboration. So we're now being able to bridge the gap between design and construction. Autodesk Takeoff. Autodesk Takeoff is empowering our estimators to automate on 2D and 3D quantification from a single comprehensive platform. This module has been flying off the shelves since it launched earlier this year, and it's a super powerful tool inside of the Autodesk Construction Cloud. And lastly, the Autodesk Build. So our comprehensive project management platform, it brings together all the things you know and love from PlanGrid, if you ever used PlanGrid previously, or BIM 360. It brings the best of those products together into Autodesk Build. Okay? Autodesk Build helps manage the RFI process, tools to make it easier to define workflows, track statuses, being able to share projects and documentation. Similarly, our submittal workflows, they allow you to ensure accountability, reduce rework risks, minimize delays, and being able to move the review through the process of everybody that's on the platform. We also have meeting minutes for managing meetings so that you can quickly create meetings. You can engage other project members to collaborate in those meetings. You can link them to drawings, documents, RFIs, issues, and other reference points. All of it is accessible anywhere from the mobile device. In addition, we'll talk a little bit about progress tracking today. It's something our customers have been asking for. We've built a great tool to overlay annotations, drawings, allowing you to track and visualize reports and construction progress at a field level. And finally, you can capture and track all this work in one place with our unified tracking system. It allows you to create tasks from the desktop or the mobile and easily filter and collect the information. We've got daily management, we've got field reports, project closeout, document management, like I mentioned, and a full cost module platform, which is something that we brought over from our BIM 360 platform. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to David, who's going to run us through the actual product demo.
So while I'm setting up over here, I'll just give myself a quick introduction. So my name is David Nichols. I'm a technical specialist here at Autodesk. I joined the team about 2 years ago, give or take a few months, and I was fresh from the site. I worked for a Hewitt construction company. I was a structural field engineer, spent most of my time outside in northern Alberta. Also spent some time around the office doing a bit of estimation, a bit of project controls, a bit of document control. And when I actually started here at Autodesk, I learned about the products. I didn't know that this kind of stuff was available. And what was particularly exciting for me when I was going through this interview process was they wanted me to showcase how I personally would have used this information, how I personally would have used this software when I was on site. And I was ecstatic to do that. And the reason why is because there's so many different used cases on how I would have appreciated the stuff that we're about to see here at today's demo. Starting us off, I'm over here in the PlanGrid Build app. So it's a mobile application. You can get on your phone, you can get on your Android, you can get on your iPad like I am right here. And of course, you also have offline capabilities. So I was working in the oil sands. I was about a kilometer hike away from the nearest Wi-Fi zone. So it's great to be able to download the project, go on site, and be able to review all the information that I want. Right over here on the home screen, this is my battle station. This is where I wake up in the morning, where my foreman's gonna wake up, where my super is gonna wake up and evaluate what needs to be done today. We start off over here with a work status area. This work status area showcases all the different tasks, issues, RFIs that are on site that I'm on top of. I can see the ones that are personally assigned to me under your assigned work. This is the ones with my name personally stapled on, so you know I'm going to be double checking this every day. Of course, I can also have the project works down below here. this project works is going to be something my superintendent's going to want to keep in track. He wants to track all the different issues that are going on project, and this is where he could filter for that information in real time. You have the capability of seeing your recently viewed sheets. Very small addition, but super important. I was always jumping back into binders, kind of finding that exact drawing set I was looking for. This would have saved me a lot of time, just being able to find the documentation I've been so accustomed to jumping into. And then you have forms. We were severely paper-based. Everything was filled out on paper, whether it's the daily report, safety report, COVID checklist now, just to name a few different paper processes. And how that would normally go is I would write those forms out, go back to the trailer, scan them, email them myself, store them on an internal server. That whole process was a complete nightmare, and of course you know it's only happening at 5 p.m., and I'm gonna have to miss that bus home and take the 5:30 bus home. Having the capability of bringing these forms directly out on site and filling them out is going to be an extremely crucial part of this platform, because at the end of the day, everything's found in one area. The next tab here, Sheets. Very simple what it does, but it's extremely helpful. We have the capability of ingesting multiple different kinds of revision sets and storing them directly in the platform, all separated for you based on drawing name, drawing number. We can filter for them, so it's very easy to find the documentation you need. I was working off of multiple different Dropbox links, SharePoint links, trying to find a specific drawing set. Absolute nightmare to find exactly what I need when I have the survey guys breathing over my neck. What's also incredibly important here is that we also have version control to make sure that everyone has the latest and greatest drawing sets. I can't tell you the amount of times I had to go out on site, look for different binders, pull them back to the trailer because there's been a new revision and I have to find them. And if I don't find them and replace those different drawings, they're going to be working off of previous revisions, which is going to cause a lot of rework and a lot of cost associated. So having the capability of just dragging and dropping the latest and greatest version set directly within the platform, OCR technology to find, identify, lay over the existing drawing directly within the platform is extremely crucial. Of course, how many times do we get a new revision pack and we're wondering what changed between them? So of course, the engineers, maybe this is just on my side, but the engineers I was working with at the time sometimes forgot the revision bubble. On the platform here, we can easily jump back to previous revisions and even compare with the most recent. This is a super interesting feature because what I used to do, had 2 monitors looking left and right really quickly trying to identify the changes. No need to. Directly on the platform here, we highlight, we color code those specific changes so it's easy as day to know exactly what's changed. Everything in red here is only on the new version. Everything in blue, only the old version. Everything in black stayed exactly the same. So, instant access to that information. Earlier in this conversation, Ashley also talked about progress tracking. This was a huge headache for me and a huge headache for my superintendent because he'd be asking me every other day, well, what did the crews install today? I'd be walking around on site. We had 40 different ironworkers at the time. I was trying to mark it down all on a notepad, and it was an absolute nightmare to find out what's exactly done at the end of every day. On the platform here, we could provide access for the foreman and the superintendent to actually be able to update the status directly what's on the drawing set. So as opposed to me going out on site and updating that information, writing it down on Word, going back and generating an email for it, my superintendent or my foreman could actually click on individual beams, like here, and actually update it based on what's been done for that specific beam. So over here, I can see that the material's been delivered, staged, installed, bolted up, and hey, today we got a QA QC'd, perfect. It's going to color code that information directly on the drawing set. All those analytics are going to feed back to my web, so that this way I don't have my superintendent even asking me what's been installed. They have full visibility directly through the website. Let's talk about issues. Punch listing, absolute crucial part of construction. How I used to do it, take pictures, 11 by 17 drawings, circling it, go back to the trailer, drag and drop those specific photos on those 11 by 17s and print them out and give them to the crew. The crew absolutely loved me for this because it was clear as day. They're not going to be running around, trying to figure out what, grading clip was missing. It's directly tied to the drawing. But the problem with that is that some subsystems we were working with had over 400 punches. It took me upwards of 12 hours to prepare these documentation so I could give to my foreman and superintendent so they could know exactly what needs to be done and crossed off. In the software here, when I found out that they have the capability of using our issue management tool to simply drop a pin directly down on a drawing and identify where the problem is without needing to have a phone call or mapping it out on the drawing, it's super important. I could put a simple request here, and for the sake of it, I'll just give us a real example. I'm going to go with something I lived every day. Bolt missing. Maybe the foreman forgot to put it in, whatever it is, but I noticed it. I know the owner is going to notice it. I want to make sure it's identified. I could assign the work specifically to an individual. So now I'm assigning accountability. I'm making sure that these individuals are responsible for the work that's been assigned to them. So I'm going to assign it off to Ashley, my foreman. I could come down here and add any other layer of information I choose to add. We have the capability of adding custom attributes, so if you are wanting to track specific information behind these issues, such as how long did it take, what's the priority, what's the subsystem, anything like that, that's completely up to you. But one thing I want to bring highlighting is the due date. What's assigning somebody something without assigning a due date? I know Ashley's very busy. I know she has a lot on the go as a foreman. I want to make sure that we don't lose track of this. It's not swept under the rug, but at least there's a due date in mind. So I'm going to give her till the end of the week. And last but not least, a photo's worth 1,000 words. I have the capability of coming in here, adding a photo directly from my tablet. I'm going to just not allow it for once. And I'm going to take a picture of Ashley. In case if Ashley doesn't see exactly where this bolt's missing, I can also come in here and highlight it. So what are we left with? We're left with a rich pack of information. We're left with a location on a drawing so that everyone knows exactly where it is. Ashley's not going to call me and ask me where this problem is or where this bolt's missing. She knows when it's due because I put her a due date, so that means she could prioritize her work and cross that off of her list as it comes up. There's a photo there, so it's clear as day. And any other rich layer of information we so choose to add behind these processes. And of course, all these different issues that you create are all aggregated into the Issues tab here, so you can filter them, you can organize them as you like, and you can really have a priority list of the different things you need to do. Now, I talked previously about paper processes. Again, ITPs, NCRs, permits, everything was done paper-based on our company, and it required a lot of saving, a lot of scanning, and a lot of emailing out and storing in different locations. One of my favorite features, personally, when I jumped onto this project, was the capability of having digital forms directly stored within the platform. I have the capability of jumping into a form directly from the mobile application here, and I could fill it out directly on site. This saves me the trouble of filling it out on paper, going back to the trailer, scanning it and emailing it, because I could do that directly on site. The best part is we could incorporate whatever forms you want. I can understand construction, still, in the Stone Age, if you will. But the easiest way to get people onto digital system is by giving them the same processes, the same forms they know and love, and turning it electronic. You have the capability of filling out different field items. You have the capability of adding checklists, drop-down menus, even signature fields. So I think I have an example here. What this really does is it ensures everything's stayed on the cloud, everything's stored. There's no sending of emails afterwards. There's no storing on third-party softwares and realizing where it is 2 years, 3 years down the line. Everything could be done and recorded directly through the web browser here. One last thing I want to highlight, and this one's very, very important to me, is how this information is also, everything that we've seen so far, could be implemented for safety. Safety is first in construction, in my opinion, and that's something I resonated with extremely passionately. One thing, how this specific form could have protected me and my crew, was the fact that we had a quality form. It was just an inspection form. When we got to site, somebody, I guess, lost the whole form. I came in on about a month late, so I guess someone had a whole full binder and took it home with them and then never came back with it. So we lost about a month's worth of quality documentation. Construction's very busy. We had to keep going. Near the end of the project, it comes to client turnover, and we're still missing those documents. So because we didn't have a structured way of storing that material, because that field engineer, I imagine, took the whole binder home with him on his turnaround, I had to go and ask my foreman to put himself back really in the line of fire to go double check something, go inspect something that's already been completed. Solely because we didn't organize the files properly. I never want to put my foreman into another situation like that where it's repeated work, putting yourself in a dangerous situation when we could have just had it stored right from the beginning. And it wouldn't matter if my field engineer left the project because everything stays within the platform. So I'm going to show you something very unique here in the platform, something I never even knew existed up until I learned about it in this platform here. And it's a little section over here in the More portion called Assets. Now, Assets has been around in the Autodesk environment. It existed in BIM 360. And it's a very unique module. So what I'm about to show you here, take it with a grain of salt because there's a lot of customization, a lot of different workflows that could be implemented with this tool here. And I'm going to name just one. And then I'll open the dialogue into some other cases where I heard where it could be even more interesting. Assets is meant to track anything and everything on site. That could be tools. That could be people. That could be material. That could be processes. Anything you like. To give you a more personal example, I'll talk about how this could be used for an office building or an apartment condo. They're building these buildings, Each individual room has their own respective plan. Each individual room has their list of different submittals, RFIs, issues, punch list, even drawings. On our platform here, you can upload all the individual rooms directly within the platform. It's QR code enabled, it's barcode enabled, it's NFC enabled, meaning that you could enter a room and this asset in particular would automatically pop up. You could see everything related to that room, such as name, location, any other custom attributes you want to include. I have floor inspection here, wall inspection, window inspection, just really to show you how you could tailor this information specifically for what that asset is. You can even have custom attributes for every individual phase that this specific apartment is going through. But in all honesty, that's not the particularly exciting part for me. The part that's exciting for me is the reference portion here, because this gives you a complete history log of that specific room. I could see all the photos that are attached. I could see all the files, receipts, warranty information pertinent to that room. I could see different issues that have come up in that room. Maybe, back when they were constructing it, there was a hole in the wall, and now a few months later, I'm getting leaks from that same area. This is all linked to this specific room. I could see any kind of forms that were attached, all those different inspection forms that must go through a specific room to sign off to a client. Well, you can have them stapled directly within the asset. You can even track any kind of submittals, RFIs, and of course, sheets directly linked in. What you're really left with is a rich layer of information regarding any asset your team chooses to track. This is also very popular for tool tracking. Personally, I would have used this for torque wrenches. We had an Excel table for torque wrenches, so a lot of information was outdated. A lot of the torque wrenches were not calibrated sometimes when they should have been calibrated, and as opposed to me digging around trying to figure out what specific torque wrench it was and if it was calibrated or not, I could have scanned the barcode, pulled it up on site, noticed that it expired, and go get that recalibrated. So on the platform here, on the mobile application, we have the capability of opening the schedule. Scheduling, we have the capability of importing either Microsoft projects, P6, Ask the Power projects directly within the environment here, so that on site you could review the schedule, all the different items that are associated to it, and of course even provide comments or feedback to the schedule. Very important note, you cannot create a schedule on this platform, but we have the capability of ingesting it, and even from the website we can accommodate information directly to it. So maybe there's an issue that's been created, a punch list concern, an RFI, anything like that. We can actually staple that information directly into a scheduled item, make a suggestion to the scheduler to make a modification, and have all that information tied to those specific line items. So getting everyone ahead of the curve of what's happening on site and what potential issues might cause scheduling delays. I'd like to thank everyone for coming today, and have a great rest of the building show.